Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and whatever time what you want to be welcomed at. It's me, Chris, Cinetronics. I am hosting Do You Expect Us to Talk this week because I forgot what episode we're doing. What episode are we doing, Dave? You see how well prepared I am.
Let me help you. Well, we'll explain why we're so unprepared in a minute. This is episode 96 of Do You Expect Us to Talk. This follows on directly from right now I'm fucking unprepared. What does it follow on from? Right, it follows on from Rogue One, and at the end of Rogue One we said that we'd return with The Empire Strikes Back, which turns out to have been complete bullshit.
Surprise!
Technical errors.
Yes.
No. Instead, we're doing we're basically doing a commentary for The World Is Not Enough.
Right. So, just to explain this slightly further, it's Chris's choice tonight. So I've chosen The World Is Not Enough. Right. And when we get to episode 100, it'll be my turn, and Chris has made a choice and announced that episode 101 will be The World Is Not Enough, which it won't be. It will be Reservoir Dogs. Probably.
We can only hope, listeners. We can only hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Charlie Brigden is indisposed tonight. We would never deny him the opportunity to commentate.
Yeah, by the way, we haven't disposed of him.
Yeah, we haven't
No,
disposed of him.
he's otherwise indisposed.
Yeah, he's using disposable.
I say
razors.
detaching the silencer from my walkie-talkie PK.
Charlie's unavailable, and we have to record tonight if we're going to get something out at the weekend. And the thing is, we've already recorded episode 97, so we can't really. We've cocked this up a bit, right? Because we were going to record Empire.
Challenge.
Right, we were going to record Empire, and then that had to be cancelled. So we filled in and pre-recorded episode 100, which is, we don't want to announce what it is yet, but that was like Chris's choice, and my choice was going to be next. So we get to the end of that episode and announce my choice, which was The World Is Not Enough. The reason there were back-to-back commentaries was we were going to go straight from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, to our next series in order that we could hit episode 100 as a Bond commentary. And all the plans have gone out of the window. So we've now recorded episode 100 and announced incorrectly what episode 101 will be. We've then recorded 1997.
Might just go over it, redub it, and go like...
And then tonight we've gone and recorded, we're going to record episode 96, which is not what we announced it was going to be. So twice we've announced The Empire Strikes Back, and it isn't. I hope you were taking notes, listeners, because I'm not fucking repeating that.
Yeah, and bear in mind we've got Last Jedi to review when that finally comes out. So God knows what number that will be.
Right, now, The Empire Strikes Back, we still want to record it because we've announced it, but we're going to pair it with The Last Jedi when that comes out. But we don't know if we're recording it when it comes out or significantly after. So
we could just do two birds with one stone, like sort of do a commentary, but end up just talking about Last Jedi.
So we've announced episode 101 will be The World Is Not Enough. I've just told you it won't be. It will likely be Reservoir Dogs. But actually, given when it's likely to fall, it could well be The Empire Strikes Back. But we don't want to announce that because we keep fucking announcing it and it isn't. And it could be The Last Jedi. But anyway, now that's all clear, Chris.
Yeah, so, we are... We're doing my choice, which is Dave's choice, which is...
It's not my choice.
Well, no, but...
We're doing Chris's choice, which was for me to choose. Apparently.
Oh, yeah. No, this is going to be a fun one anyway, I can tell. I can already tell. Yeah. Because, I mean, to be honest, this could have been my choice. This could have easily been my choice. I would have...
I just know at the end of episodes now, Becca's going to go a bit Ron Burgundy and use that slightly questioning tone when we announce what's next, because we're not going to say anything with any confidence.
This is why I'm like, next is blah blah, and I don't know what it is.
All the episodes we said we were going to do, we're going to do.
But just not in the order that we say we're going to do them.
But we're recording them all in the wrong order, and what we're announcing at the end of the episode doesn't tend to be what comes next. But everything we've said we're going to do, the total number of Bond commentaries, so there was going to be one at the end of Star Trek and one leading into Tarantino with a gap in the middle, and I can't remember. We have announced it. It's our Avatar, Back to the Future. So they're both happening, but they're not happening where we thought they were happening. An Empire commentary is still going to happen. The Last Jedi is still going to happen. Everything is the same. We just look like twats, and I'm sorry.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think Suicide Squad was more cohesive.
Yeah.
Justice League sounds like it's more
actually,
cohesive
this is very like Suicide Squad, in that I've spent most of my time explaining what's happening after this podcast within the first 20 minutes of it. Suicide Squad was in Act 3 within about 20 minutes, so structurally, that's very appropriate.
We're working our way backwards. It's got a beginning, middle, and end, but not necessarily in that order.
Yes.
Anyway, so shall we begin?
Are you ready, children? Well, we shall begin.
So, by the way, I might as well announce it. I'm joined obviously by Mr. David Bond and Miss Rebecca Andrews.
Oh, it's my turn to speak now, is it? Fuck.
Just in case anyone didn't know who the fuck you guys were.
Oh, God, we have had torturous conversations tonight because all our plans have been thrown up, and I haven't quite calmed down yet. So, as you can see, it's coming out as, and then this happened, and then that happened.
Well, what's best to calm me down than the soothing Irish tones?
A soothing pair of fake tits
of Pierce Brosnan and his delivery of.
He's a slightly fake tit, but he's. That's not
What's wrong with his man boobs? They're voluptuous.
Okay, well we can enjoy those.
It's his hairy chest that I'll be looking at. Oh my god, I'll get over it.
Mine's better than that because it's just as hairy and has tits. Best of both worlds.
Lucky you, Dave. Lucky you.
We're now away from back-to-back Bond commentaries, which means we're back to the way this is meant to work. It's just all been announced in the wrong order.
It's almost like it was meant to be.
It is.
But it is odd how we started Back to the Future and that whole time.
I know. We've already recorded that. It's like
we're recording like sort of a couple of times in the future, and then we've gone back on ourselves. And
just to keep verisimilitude, none of us have shagged our mums.
Yet.
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't plan to ever.
Give it time, Becca.
If the script demands it.
Well,
anyway.
we haven't luckily killed off either Christopher Lloyd or Michael J. Fox. So touch wood.
Give it time.
Give it time.
Well, let's face it. It's not entirely even feasible, is it? I mean, Michael J. Fox has got a horrible illness, and
we've not had much luck with.
And how old is Christopher Lloyd? I mean,
Christopher Lloyd's about 79.
Is he really?
Yeah.
No.
Fucking hell, really?
Well, what did you think he was in Back to the Future? Like 26?
No, I didn't. I thought he was like 60, 70. I didn't realise he was nearly 80. Oh my god.
Yeah, but he would have been 47, wouldn't he, on that level? Which is about right.
I thought it'd be older
that makes
than
sense. But he just doesn't look it. That's all. What is the secret? Staying so young.
Well, you keep time travelling. That's probably why.
Probably time travel. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Anyway, sorry. Let's carry on with Bond Origins. So we are, as ever, on Initiate Mission, the home screen, seeing Pierce Brosnan jumping down on some skis.
Or sliding across in
with a dodgy facial beard. Facial hair.
When we say Pierce Brosnan jumping down, that was in sort of, speech marks. Pierce Brosnan jumping.
Do it.
Yeah, almost like the Roger Moore style of action hero.
Roger?
Yeah.
Oof. Okay, right. Are we all ready?
Oof.
Are we all ready?
Yes.
Okay, so when I go, oof, press Initiate Mission. Okay? So,
okay.
1, 2, and oof!
That was fun. I hope you've got an empty house, Chris, otherwise your folks will be like, what the hell? What's going on? And your mum coming in, is everything alright?
I'm always impressed by the consistency of Leo the Lion's performance.
Yes, he does a solid performance.
Same in every film. Superb.
Pierce gun barrel. Ciao.
My favourite gun barrel.
He means business.
Oh yeah, Pierce is your favourite at the stance, isn't it? I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's very upright. I like it, and I've always liked the way. A lot of people laugh at his run in that, but I actually like the way Pierce Brosnan moves.
No, he moves very.
Is it the no nonsense about it?
I think it's partly such a slim build, so he's got quite a lithe, athletic way of moving. And I mean, when you look at Daniel, he's got like a no nonsense approach. But when you see him run, he kicks his legs up too far at the back, and it looks a bit weird.
It does look a bit strange, doesn't it? I mean, that scene, like, if he runs through Whitehall, looks a bit odd. But when Pierce moves, it's kind of more like a panther or something.
He kind of goes for like a Sean Connery style, doesn't he? With the leg kicking up and...
I bet as he was past that cigar, he thought, I can make a joke to Moneypenny about sticking this in her twat later.
Yeah, it's almost like sort of politicians and sexual scandals, you think, actually, what's actually changed since...
Apparently, Maria Grazia Cucinotta had to learn her lines phonetically because she couldn't speak English.
Good job she didn't have that many lines.
No, not from him. That's about it.
That is literally her only line of dialogue.
Literally, well, apart from, do you want to take my figures? And then at the end, not from him.
The only thing is, he's trying to look business-like Pierce, and he does do a good job here, but it was a bit... it was a bit like he was sniffing his own fingers there for a moment.
Bit smelly.
Now, Patrick Malahide will be forever Chisholm in Minder. And that's getting a bit old as a reference now, because he quit before the character of Ray Daly came into the show. So he hasn't played Chisholm since the 80s, but basically he was Arthur Daly's nemesis, wasn't he? He was like the police inspector that was always trying to put him away.
I know about Minder, but I'd never seen it.
I would imagine it is extraordinarily dated now. But it was pretty good at the time.
Well, no, I'm aware of the character and Arthur Daly and things like that, but I've just never sat down and watched an episode.
I'm gonna help you.
Right, if you're doing things, if you're doing.
I'll help you.
He was also in Long Kiss Goodnight, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, so he was.
Well,
as Samuel L. Jackson, quite versatile.
It's been lots of things.
I cannot believe that originally they thought this was acceptable as a pre-title, because it was going to end here.
I know. Then it probably would have been the shortest pre-title.
It would have been the shittest pre-title as well. That'll do.
Well, I think it would have been cool had they ended it. He got out the window, and he slid all the way down, and and it could have ended it there.
I think that would be way too short. I mean, that's their big stunt.
I mean, to be fair, there was like an extra scene when we had Renard and the cigar girl sort of meet afterwards, and you find out it's Renard with the sniper. So you find out earlier on that it is him. But also it could be written in a way that I think, okay, well that'll do. It's the action scene, and when you see it as it is now, the style is pretty standard and ordinary. So it would be disappointing. But I imagine if you gave it to someone who knew what they were doing, maybe a bit of visual flair, or something, it may have worked better.
The logic of hiring Michael Apted is sound, actually. What they wanted to do, and this approach to a Bond film is much. Forget the end result, because obviously, in my mind, this is much better than Die Another Day. But forget the end result, just the whole style of Bond film, trying to put a bit more heart and emotion in it. I like this more. I like this idea. And Michael Apted, particularly given a lot of the action's done second unit anyway. And actually, as a pre-title goes, it's really good. It's now too long, but originally it would have been too short, in my view. It would have just been you've cut that before anything's really happened.
But let's just say if this was like a Daniel Craig one, and it would have done a little bit more like a Quantum or Casino Royale, where it's just a little bit like a more of a brutal, like a very fast paced but kind of brutal, short and sharp kind of post credit scene. It would have worked better, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yeah. Close but no cigar. Can you imagine leaning into someone like that now at work?
Oh dear.
No, we're just chatting this and we're all about the business.
Close but no cigar.
I know exactly where to put that.
Bet you do.
So Robert King, I'm meeting up with an old friend, and I've just called him into the most secure building in the country.
Because we could.
Shit. Why does it have to be cash? Right?
He's a greedy bastard.
Because if he got his money back, we didn't see Bond carry all that back. I know he had a suitcase, but there seems to be more than that. And also, can't they just put it in their account and then wire it to him?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't as well known back then, was it? Or it was still kind of most people dealt. I think what it is, most people dealt with kind of like taking cash out of the bank rather than wireless transfer money here and there all the time. Yeah. So I think it was more for the sake of like it telegraphs the audience more than like
write him a check.
Well, yeah. But
and then
that's
he
less
goes into a
cinematic,
secure
isn't it,
room just to look at one little bit of paper.
It's the movie law. It's like, you know, seeing a big briefcase full of money is more cinematic than like one scrap of paper typing in like a few digits into the computer. You know what I mean?
Oh, what's Pierce noticed here?
Soapy.
Soapy gin.
Didn't you rinse this out before you fucking poured a drink into it?
No, he didn't care probably.
So what's the thing? There was like a chemical on his.
Yeah, they've soaked. Right, there's some.
It's on the money.
There's chemical in the money, and it's also on the pin.
Yeah, it's been soaked in some kind of fertilizer. There's also like a micro strip in it. There's a strip in it that reacts with the something in the pin, and because it's been soaked in fertilizer, it's extraordinarily flammable. You would think it would also stink of shit. Why are you giving me my money back smelling of poo? It looks like you've wiped your ass on this note. I don't understand this actually at all. Why is she sat there? What's she trying to do? No, that's not good enough, Becca. You can't just say that. It's Bond, so therefore it makes no sense.
It's Bond, therefore it makes perfect sense.
If I was to give this film the benefit of doubt, I reckon she was probably there to. She knew exactly where the explosion would happen, because it's like where Robert King is supposed to get killed. She could have been there to make sure that he is dead.
That's actually the best explanation I've ever heard for it, and one I've never heard before.
That guy was going to kill us there, so
why is she pointing it there? Well, that's where the explanation's just gone, because it's blown out there in that gap. That doesn't make sense. I withdraw my complaint.
And the fact that Bond's there was kind of like a happy accident, and the fact that, oh shit, it's that guy I was like, that I'm still meant to kill.
I've always
that would be. I mean, I'm not saying that's what they thought. They probably did think like, and then.
Do you know what?
Dead, shoot Bond, but
whenever I look at that boat, particularly going round in circles and shit like that, and the flames coming at the back, I think that'd be perfect with some fishing. And do you know what?
All the fish would just draw to it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and you could torpedo the fish if they're refusing to play ball. Yeah. It's a good action sequence, though. As much as I think it's too long and unbalances the film, it's really good.
Enjoy doing that, though. But
it's really, really good fun.
Apparently, he loved it. Now, there's a lot of bullshit that comes out when they talk about what actors do and don't do. But apparently, Pierce got straight in it and was doing like fucking pretty much maximum speed.
Yeah, he was doing all the speeds, wasn't he? All the knots.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do all of it, but he was in that a fair bit, and he did as much as they would let him.
Even including going under the water and straightening his tie.
Yeah. Should have put his tie on straight in the first place, to be fair. I don't see that as impressive. I see that as a man who refused to dress himself properly in the morning.
Maybe Ken Branagh's Poirot got in touch with him and was like, could you straighten your tie? Thank you.
Yeah. Came in from about, 18 years before?
Yeah, 18 years before. You straighten your tie.
Yes.
Very odd.
Cash, as you do see in London, like a super-powered machine gun.
Oh,
yeah. No one's going to argue with it.
Nope. Yeah, that was good fun. And thanks to JBR, I've been to that location as well. Pretty cool.
Well, it's just London, it's not that glamorous.
Oh no, we went to the point where literally...
How did you find such a quiet outpost?
Well, we took the DLR, you know.
Yes, just like A View to a Kill put the Eiffel Tower on the map.
Putting the Millennium Dome on the map.
just think how awful that water would be splashing in his face.
Oh, really bad.
Yeah, it's quite polluted, Thames.
I do love the music in this scene as well.
Yeah, I do. It's good. It's quite
When
good.
the soundtrack came out, I pretty much had it on repeat. It's interesting to see how much that landscape has changed as well, because a lot of the office blocks are now flats, or some of the offices aren't there anymore.
You can see where they're going to build more flats here if you know.
No, you can. There's a lot of
Like the long
empty.
it does. Yeah. Anyway, you've got.
It's always changing, always evolving. Dive. Oh, maybe you can see watch that Master as well.
I've just realised that first opening scene with the bank is really redundant. The only reason why it technically should still be in the film is so Renan could say, "Oh yeah, it was me making sure make sure you were still alive to take the money to King." So I was me, the sniper. That's the only reason why it technically should still be there, because you can easily start a film with Bond taking the money to him. You're just like, okay.
Yeah, they really kind of have a reason, really, don't they? But it's so exciting.
I'm not saying cut this bit out. I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, they chopped out the scene there. Oh yeah, this guy's clampers.
Yeah,
this is dated. This is dated horribly. What was that?
Yeah, apparently didn't tell them that was going to happen.
No, because the nation hated them, so we were like, yes, get in. Apparently, there's a scene involving Terry Bamber, which was cut here.
Involving who?
Terry Bamber.
Who's he?
He used to present University Challenge.
Oh, okay.
No.
So not Jeremy Paxton.
Sorry, that was Paul Gascoigne.
No, that was Paul Bamber Gascoigne. No, he's been sort of unit director on many of the Bond films.
If that was me, I'd have to go back and buy quite a lot of fish. I'd feel quite guilty.
Yeah, going back to buy it, give some money to the market.
I'm surprised Brosnan didn't come out with a fish in his mouth.
I hated that. Yeah, I know that it was quite close to that, particularly with the fucking clampers and all that. But this is cool when they come out and reveal.
Yeah, I do like this scene. This is pretty cool.
Hey, the dome was merely weeks away from flopping terribly at this point.
There was such a lot of money for that, and obviously the National Lottery ploughed quite a lot of into that as well.
Which, in the big scheme of public finances, is actually neither here nor there.
No, but for something it was only meant to last a year, wasn't it? It was Millennium Dome before it. I don't know what it was in between that and the O2.
It was just, I think it was a kind of a disuse for years.
And then they took it over as a venue.
Probably better used now, isn't it? It's like a big
go.
cinema of restaurants and arena, isn't it?
Well, yeah, rather than walking around the insides of like a toy bowl,
a giant tent.
Fuck it was before.
Obviously, you could do abseiling up and now, can't you? Which is pretty cool.
They had to basically fit it with some sort of temporary roofing because it wasn't even finished when they shot this.
No.
But it would have been finished by the time the film came out.
Yeah.
It was a few months, so they had to just put some temporary stuff on it.
Yeah, basically finish it, patch it up for the film. But no, I remember going it when it was the Millennium Dome. It was really interesting. Lots of interesting sculptures and art and things like that, but it was all a little bit.
You have said to us before, though, that it was, I think you said it was the answer to a question no one asked.
Well, exactly.
You just said it. What you were effectively saying was it was lacking any kind of theme.
Yeah, it was just for the Millennium because it was the year 2000, and that was it. It was interesting enough, but a little bit.
That was Pierce's oof moment.
Oof. Although the transition into the credits might be the titles
That's pretty
might
cool,
be one of my favourite of the whole series.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
I love this. And the way he drops to the floor in a minute.
These titles are so pretty, aren't they?
Yeah, they're at their prettiest.
Lands on his feet.
They're
limps away.
They're at their prettiest at the start. The longer they go on, the blander they get.
Oh yeah, it's all about the oil, so it's going to be lots of different colours and textures.
The closest to it is actually Spectre. Spectre looks a bit like this in places. It's not one of my favourites, but I do like the transition into it.
Yeah, this is the colour, really.
Yeah.
Like
hang on, those women are in the nip!
They're not all there.
Covered in oil.
Well, that's probably why they took the clothes off.
I think maybe this is what inspired
the
death
Stewart's probably
of
around.
Fields in a few years.
Goldfinger got that, inspired that, and the only reason it was oil was the MacGuffin of that film, or at least it was the red herring anyway. We thought it was about oil and it was actually about water. I haven't listened to a lot of Garbage, but I know that I always felt she was
you
like
need to turn on the radio to listen to Garbage, Dave.
she was forcing her voice lower than it naturally went, if that makes any sense. It didn't sound quite right the way she sang it. It's not a bad theme. I feel like it. Certainly in the whole run of the series, it's kind of middling. It's not bad, but it's not one of the ones that offend me. And I feel the same way about the titles in sort of Danny Kleinman's catalogue. It's way better than most of the Morris Binder stuff because of the technology they've got, but it's pretty middling in the Daniel Kleinman era, along with Spectre. It's not a standout like sort of Skyfall or Casino Royale or Goldeneye.
Is Skyfall your favourite one?
I go back and forth on that actually, but yeah, I think it might be. But I'm very fond of Casino Royales as well. GoldenEye's would be in there, but it is starting to date now. It feels a bit 90s music video, but I mean it was fantastic at the time.
And a bit nostalgia as well because of the Russia backdrop, right?
I felt that Skyfalls was the perfect mix of innovation and classic, because it brought back some of the shots of women we had in that reminded me of the early films, particularly that sort of cut forward in perspective. And the
like the one staring down the gun barrel.
Exactly that shot. Yeah. That's the one I'm thinking of, and I know you noticed it as well.
Yeah, I mean that was my favourite part of
that's
it.
That's a real classic Bond shot, isn't it? And on top of that, the transition to it, where the hand reaches up to get him after he falls into the water, I think it's lovely, and it's really thematically rich as well. Casino Royales is just really, really cool. That's the I don't really know which one I prefer. I tend towards Skyfalls, but having said that, when I watch Casinos Royales, it's at the start of a much better film, in my view, and it's also it's full of promise for the start of the Daniel Craig era. Do you know what I mean? So in some respects, I'd rather watch Casino Royales, but I think Skyfalls is better, if that makes sense.
It's attached to the film itself rather than.
Picture of Bernard Lee on the wall behind him there, or a painting anyway.
Yeah, nice memory.
Yeah.
Michael Kitchen.
The female below.
Kitchen wasn't available for Tomorrow Never Dies, so they put the Robinson character in, Colin Salmon. And of course they didn't know what to do for this film, so they sort of forced them both in.
They squished them both in, definitely.
Yeah, because there's no need for them both to be there. It's just they both played effectively the same role within the film in the previous two.
We didn't have Villiers around then.
Yeah, we don't see Villiers a lot anyway.
No, he only appeared in Casino Royale, as far as I know.
Isn't that him? No, he's not in For Your Eyes Only, is he?
No.
I know he's in the Bond.
Oh, it might be somebody else, played by a different actor.
I don't know. I don't really care. To be honest with you, I like all these characters existing, but because they've been so overdone in the last few years, I almost don't like to think about them now, because I just want them minimised a bit more.
Well, not have it as Bond and Friends, yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did he have?
Having casual sex, just get what you want.
Yeah.
Notes you have exceptional stamina.
Given he's heterosexual, it's quite handy this is a woman, really, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Having to do some fella just to get back out in the field.
Well, it's a very much a Connery thing, isn't it?
I've always thought of this as Roger Moore, that he's half fucking them before they've even started.
I mean, well, Roger was kind of like they just show up and they just like shag for the sake of it. Connery was a lot more like kind of like hit on the staff or hit on like whoever was there just to kind of get his way. There was a little bit of ulterior motive with Connery. There was like, yeah, let's have some fun as well. Whereas Roger Moore was like, oh, you're here.
Well, let's fuck.
Let's get it on.
Let's take your panties off.
in that voice. RQ. Pipe down.
Dead.
Look at that great big monitor. Look at that great big monitor. Oh my god.
Dead weeks after the film was released.
Oh no, very sad. Beautiful new fishing boat.
Like, just that's fucking bollocks. I just hate that as a line because it's just that's not a fishing boat.
You can imagine him like.
It's clearly not a fishing boat, is it? Clearly not.
Why didn't they just have him say, you know, you ruined my last major project or something like that? Not I was going to go fucking fishing in it.
That was going to be 009s or something.
Yeah, not they've let me build this £5 million pound boat and they're going to let me take it away with me when I leave. Fucking gift wrap it.
I never understood this line anyway. Half of it, I don't know what that means.
It means shit writing.
Yeah, probably.
They can't think of a line and they've got to put a line in. So
I like John Cleese.
It basically means he's not that funny. He's not as funny as he thinks he is.
Yeah, no, I mean it does have a meaning, but it's not a very good line.
Mm. But, I think we said it before, I think John Cleese is actually a really good replacement for Q.
Yeah, I mean, had they carried on, had Die Another Day been a better film and Brosnan done a fifth in 2004, had it been John Cleese, fine. He wasn't a problem with Die Another Day, particularly. And in fact, he played it very similar to Desmond anyway.
Mm.
I do love that Q scene. That's probably one of my favourite non-Desmond Llewellyn Q scenes. Of the two also that have...
There's only one. Oh, yeah.
See, I don't...
Well, then there was Major Boothroyd, well, not Desmond Llewellyn, but also Major Boothroyd back in Doctor No. From Issue of Love, even.
Doctor No, you've got the whole...
From Issue of Love, I meant.
Okay. No, you mean Doctor No.
Yeah, I mean Doctor No, that's correct, yeah.
They've got the whole... I love that scene. They're forcing him to take the gun, he doesn't want that. The Die Another Day one, the problem I've got with that is it follows straight on from them walking out from where they've just stood amongst all the props. Yeah. I fucking hate it.
It's a bit knobby.
I don't like that scene at all, but he isn't a problem, no.
This is really sad, isn't it? You're not retiring anytime soon.
And he wasn't. The whole point was he was going to come back.
But then he died. Oh.
Yeah, just have like R as his inevitable replacement whenever that time came, but...
Yeah. I mean, it is almost insurance that if anything happens to him, you've already introduced his replacement.
Oh,
but he died right after the film anyway, so by the time the Die Another Day came out, it wasn't particularly raw. You could just carry on with John Cleese. He'd been dead 3 years by the time the film came out.
And also that last shot was just really like a really odd choice because they say like, oh no, I'm not going anywhere. They announced what they were doing, and then that last shot of him going down is very much like a.
I think part of the problem, I didn't see him go down on Bond there, but I think part of the problem is Bond isn't going anywhere at this point. He doesn't have an assignment. I mean, none of it makes sense the moment you think about it, because Bond is up there. Why? He's got no assignment. He sat on the briefing. Why? He's got no assignment. And it's all very well saying they didn't hand him the papers, but why is he even there? He then goes to like Q to get a load of like stuff shown to him, and it's like, well, why? You don't have an assignment. And they can't have him walk out of the room because he's not leaving the room to head to like Austria or something. He's staying in that very building. So they've almost got to, unless they just finish it with them awkwardly looking at each other, you've almost got to have Desmond be the one disappear. And also, exchange rates change every day, so that's bullshit. The chances of it coming up at bang on £5 million. And also now that would be more like £3.1 million.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware you had an assignment on this case. Well, why did you drag me to Scotland then, you fucking senile bitch?
Well, they just had a funeral there, haven't they? Was it there?
I don't know, actually. Perhaps
because
it was.
I guess the reasoning is Bond wanted to go because, he was involved, so that's why he was involved in the briefing, because he was involved in what happened, though he is not been given any assignments to from that, but Bond feels like he has to because he feels like a responsibility. That's, if I was being fair on film, I would.
I know it's the Secret Service, but I don't tend to attend meetings that have nothing to do with me if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
But there you go. Because they tell us.
But this is Movieland, Dave.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't want to be too critical actually, because I like this film, but you can pit pick quite a lot of holes in it, even before it gets to the part you would consider bad. But I love having a picture. I always call him Bernard. I don't know why. I think it's Bernard. But yeah, Bernard Lee on the wall. I love that painting. It's quite nice. I miss the days of trying to force a clip of Bernard Lee into the start of every show. Chris writing to us when he was editing and saying, which clip do you want? And me just saying, Bernard Lee.
I'm surprised you just didn't do it anyway when I know you're editing it.
Yeah. I know, but...
Just a random clip of him like, in the Third Man or something like that.
Reservoir Dogs. This is not a personal vendetta, 007.
It's always bloody personal.
It is fucking lately. Oh, this is going to be awesome. Look, you can see he's got brain damage, right? And it turns out all of his like feelings are being switched off, so he's not going to feel pain. I bet they make a tremendous use of that. He's going to be one of the great Bond villains. I can tell.
So wasted.
I hope he puts his hand through a table and then like has sex where he can't feel anything.
This is probably one of the biggest MacGuffins ever, isn't it? Because it turns out it's all about her.
And it's a great actor as well.
I know, what a waste.
Yeah. Well, not waste. It's still a great performance, but it's just like,
It's an okay performance. I mean, but I could never say anything nasty because he wasn't given anything to work with, really.
No.
And when they finally unleashed this amazing skill, what does he do? Put his hand through a table. That's it.
It's rubbish.
And my God, he can't feel that he's got a splinter in his hand.
So they could have gone like really sort of, because there is like a tragic side to him as well, because of the fact that he is in love with Electra, but you could have made him a bit more like evil and a bit more kind of like brutal, like just really could not give a fuck, like killing people.
None of it makes any sense because the whole point is it's supposed to suggest that she's got Stockholm syndrome, but it turns out she's been playing him all along anyway. And it's like, who's supposed to be playing who here? It doesn't actually really make a lot of sense at all.
No.
But this was a wonderful setup. I thought this is going to be good. I like his reaction there. I know you have exceptional stamina. And he's like, yeah.
She's like, hey!
I didn't give him a hand job. I sucked him off.
It was full-on penetration.
Yeah, it was full-on penetration. Or whatever that word Chris just said was.
Yes. Well, I can't even repeat it.
Penetration, starring Edward Snowden.
Don't frighten her. I won't frighten her.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck her.
And then, like, later in the film, he goes to her now, and it's like, you know, telling her there's, like, a threat on her life, and he's got to watch her because who knows what's going to happen and all the rest of it. And then, like, when he fucks off later, it's like, you'll be safe here? And it's like, how? You don't know who's after her. Or you know it's Renard, but you don't know who's working for Renard? And I remember being really disappointed by that, just as a setting, because I thought, what a fucking ugly setting for a Bond film.
Azerbaijan.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about Azerbaijan generally. I mean, they hold a Grand Prix in Baku, and it looks quite an interesting place, but just that...
Probably Black Park, I imagine.
Yeah.
No, it's probably Azerbaijan.
No, it quite possibly is, Becca.
Wonder if they'll use that again.
What, those blades?
Azerbaijan?
Yeah, on a helicopter. Wonder if they'll...
That'd be quite good. I'd like a sort of helicopter-based villain. That'd be really cool.
A what? Helicopter-based villain?
Villain,
What?
yeah.
What, like he's got a lair in his helicopter?
Well, no, or just some kind of, you know...
He's got a pair of like
in a chopper.
propellers on top of his head, like Inspector Gadget. He's just like...
Gadget. Funny. Things we never see in a Bond film. Or no, or just like goons in a helicopter, you know, chasing him down. That'd be pretty cool.
We see that all the time, don't we?
Sorry?
He had a fight with one in a helicopter in the last film.
I mean,
yeah, but that wasn't very good though.
It's
It's like
opening,
a chase between a car and a chopper or
it's
a
the
friend
opening
bike.
sequence to View to a Kill.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
And in Spy Love Me, you know, he got chased by
Yo.
the the girl in the helicopter, didn't he? And then he went in the submarine.
What? Oh dear, he did indeed.
And then so we had to say
those feathers
goodbye
that
to
still
an
can't
uninvited guest.
All those feathers that still can't fly. Oh, Caroline Munro, she's really cool. Not then, I will tell you, we have blessed this pipeline.
Yeah, she's a good Bond girl. And such a good idea to make her the villain. Spoiler alert, by the way.
The pipeline is safe for use. Yeah. I don't know what he's saying. Oh, it's on my jelly.
When he kept popping up in films.
Yeah.
Because
He's
it's The
on
Mummy as
TV
well that year.
He was everywhere, wasn't he? Bam, bam, bam.
Oh, remember when they put Bond in like suits that fitted him?
No, it looks nice.
They probably put the very same one on Daniel, but Daniel's like way fucking bigger.
He's a bit more stocked, isn't he?
He is, yeah. But much broader, yeah. Pierce
think the
Brosnan's
problem-
actually
problem
very
is-
slight.
Problem with yeah, I think the problem with Daniel Craig is just they tried to make him look a bit like a hipster as well, which doesn't quite help. Just in terms of like having them really tight trousers, and it's like,
You can see 00 and 7 in those.
But,
I remember that line from Friends. Where Chandler had like Pierce Brosnan suit or something,
Yeah.
but it didn't fit him because you could see 00 and 7 in them. Yeah.
That was a good sitcom, friends.
Yeah, it's dated worse than say Frasier, which was around the same time, but it's yeah, it was good.
I think Frasier's still watchable. I think
Frasier's brilliant. That's what I mean. It's
Oh,
dated.
no, Frasier, that was a brilliant show.
Let's paint everything. Let's spell everything out to us. Look at my pipeline. Look exactly where it goes. Yeah.
I mean, funnily enough, this kind of like works as a typical Bond film because normally Bond would be introduced to the villain at this point anyway. But this time we just presented it as the Bond girl.
Possibly. It might be a bit early for meeting the main villain normally. Well, yeah, I suppose he would be actually.
You know,
only
in
thinking of
the
some of the
traditional
very
old school sense, you know, where like
Yeah, I mean, if you think of when he would have met Max Zorin, it would have been
or Drax.
Yeah, no, I'll go along with that. Yeah, fair enough. Fairly late in Act 1.
Yeah, he introduced the villain first. It's like, you know, it's like Columbo. It's
I
like
still
literally
think
the
the
first
Doctor
person
No
you
when
meet.
it's really, really late, but that's one film out of all of them, to be fair.
I'm trying to think of other examples now. I mean, obviously not Doctor No, but that was the first one, or For Russia, because that was Goldfinger.
Goldfinger, he meets him very early, actually.
Yeah.
Or he talks to him. He doesn't meet him face to face for a little while, but he does talk to him early.
Not sure about Thunderball though.
Can't remember when he meets Largo. Becca, when does he meet Largo in Thunderball?
Halfway through?
I think it's early in that, but
No, it's quite early on, isn't it?
But
Because
I
the
don't- but-
gambling scene.
I thought there was a gambling scene, but I can't remember when it is.
yeah. No, it's not early in film because you have all the stuff at the health farm, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why.
Once you get after past Shrublands.
Obviously, you only live twice. Is not the case, but I suppose you still have the
It's
secondary
quite near the end,
villains.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you break
So-
up quite late in that film.
Oh, and you only live twice, you don't?
Oh, no, not You Live Twice now. I'm thinking of a different film.
And then, yeah, it's not always the case, is it? Because obviously with Blofeld, he's always interested later on, especially in, and then on the Marriage Seas, that's not the case. And Diamonds isn't the case. So my theory is literally like failing.
We see him quite really early on in Diamond.
Yeah, but is that him?
That's it, we
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, we didn't get introduced to. Oh yeah, I suppose.
Welcome to Hell, Blofeld.
Yeah, but I suppose it still doesn't count because it's in the pre-title.
I love the ski scene, that's amazing.
Chris just making up his own rules there.
Well, it
Well,
doesn't.
no,
'Cause
if we haven't heard anyone
usually
sing,
have the pre-title, and then Bond gets his mission, then literally straight next scene after that, he's being introduced to the villain, more or less.
Well, I love the idea that it doesn't count.
Well, it doesn't.
You see the villain early in that film. Oh yeah, but it's too early. I quite like the costume design in this film. I think they dress Pierce very well. Generally speaking, he's got some quite nice suits and stuff in this film. It's probably my favourite of his BMWs as well. So yeah, I kind of like the look of this film. It was just early on when he was driving through Azerbaijan. I was thinking that ain't very nice. A lot of people hate this action sequence. I don't mind it at all.
No, I don't mind it. I mean, it looks very stagey, but
the only thing was there where they cut in on Pierce, where he jumps up, and the flame goes off behind him, and then we've got a cut in on a close up to prove it's Pierce, which it isn't, obviously, and him going, hello.
Hello there.
would those? In reality, wouldn't you just get like a helicopter or something, or like a sniper? Wouldn't that just be a lot easier thing to do?
They should have shot him rather than, I don't know what they're trying to do, scoop him up. Who fucking knows?
I mean,
It goes on a bit long for me. I will say that.
Yeah, I forget the reason for this attack in it, because they're all meant to be with Elektra, or is this kind of Renard going?
I don't really know. I'd have to think about that. I suspect it is just it's just throwing Bond off the scent. He's actually there to see Elektra attacked.
Yes. Or just kill him. Yeah.
That's the thing. We get a lot of that in the Pierce Brosnan era. It's like in GoldenEye. They fucking knock their nuts off in the pre-title to try and kill him. And the only way that plot works is if he does get away.
That's a lame line.
I know. Most of the lines in it are quite lame.
That's kind
the
of cool,
Brosnan. The thing is, Brosnan's quite a charming guy, and he should be able to do light comedy really well. But virtually none of the humour in his era is any good. I'm sure if I thought about it, there's some good lines. If I thought about it, there probably are. So I don't want to write the whole thing off. But by and large, when I think about the Brosnan era, I think of some of the worst quips I can think of.
I think it was at a time where it was just for the sake of having a quip rather than like thinking about the quality of it.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. So when at the time they were doing these Bond films, they were like thinking, right, have to have that scene. It's like it was almost like a checklist.
It's almost how we ended up with. I've always thought that about Die Another Day, where Gustav Graves says global warming is a terrible thing, which is a really, really poor line. But it's always struck me as a line you write in like a first draft, almost to remind you to put a line there. It's like, well, I'll put that in there for now. I can't think of anything else. I'll put that in there for now. And we'll come back and try and think of something better. And, like, they never got round to it. And there's a lot of that in the Brosnan era that, like, well, that'll do. And it never looks like Brosnan, you never know who he's talking to either. I don't know. It's weird.
Now, do you think she's generally scared there? I think it's like she's putting it on.
I think she's putting it on. I could be convinced differently, but I think she's putting it on.
Or she could be like sort of part terrified, but kind of like overdoing it a little bit.
I think the whole point is she needs Bond's trust. She needs to throw MI6 off the scent. So she needs that moment where he sort of, look into my eyes, not around the eyes. No, but,
You're under.
Yeah. she needs to bond with him emotionally. She needs him to fall a bit for her.
She needs to bond with Bond.
Yeah. Well, it's not very well written, because later in the film, she's absolutely convinced that no man can resist her and no one can kill her. And that's not actually set up in the plot very well at all. But I can see where maybe they're trying to do it. She is convinced she can make Bond love her, and she has to make him love her. And during that process, she falls a bit for him as well, actually, I think. Some of that reminds me in set design of Moonraker.
Mm.
Are you there, Becca?
I am indeed. I'm paying attention to the film, sorry.
Stop it. Pay no attention. Just ignore it.
Yes,
Look
boss.
the other way.
Yes, boss.
See, talking about like her motives just makes me think, oh, this could have been such an exceptional Bond film.
It really could have done. There's so much has gone to waste in this movie.
I think the problem with it is I don't think Pierce Brosnan's take on Bond is aging very well, but he was kind of at his peak in the role here. It's the best he ever looked, for me. I mean, you could argue about Tomorrow Never Dies versus this, but it was as good as he ever looked in the role, with the exception of a couple of scenes, and we'll take the piss out of them later. He's pretty good in the role in this film. And the best, I don't want Bond to fall in love in every film, but the ones where Bond genuinely develops a proper emotional connection with the lady, the rare occasions that happens, and even there, I can't do this. I mustn't take this risk. He's feeling something already. And those tend to be the best films. And you can just see the promise. And as someone whose favourite film, in my case, is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but it works if your favourite film's Casino Royale as well, to see it with so much promise. Because it isn't even like Spectre, where they just tell us they're in love but never prove it.
Yeah.
This film sort of proves it a bit.
I mean, Blofeld basically sort of says on paper, she's the perfect woman for you. It's like, well, yeah, on paper, yes.
Yeah, you've just described the script writing process. But the point is, Spectre never sold it, and I don't hate Spectre. I must reiterate that I hate things about it. But the major thing was, he drives off with her at the end, and you're like, well, I think she's lovely, Leia Seydoux, but what in the story convinced me she was the special one? In this film, I've never the slightest doubt he falls for her. This is one of the 3 or 4 times in the series Bond falls in love, and I'm convinced by it.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's also, I mean, talking about even today, like the sheer fact that she makes him, she actually persuades Bond is almost like a faulting of him, and it's almost like it's like a betrayal of him as well. It's like it could be a very interesting idea for him to face that and to almost be tricked in love.
I still think it's better than the public's perception of it, or the Bond fan community's perception of it, in that it gets ranked right down the bottom. And my gut feeling is it sort of belongs somewhere in the middle. But the fact is, the bits it gets wrong, it gets really, really wrong. Some of the worst bits of this film are some of the worst bits of the series. It's just, for me, it is balanced by the fact that, I mean, Pierce Brosnan never had any chemistry with his leading ladies, and he had some with her, and she's great. And I often talk about the Bond we're introduced to in these films. I know they vary, but the sort of woman he would fall for. And it isn't Denise Richards, but it definitely is Sophie Marceau. Bond would fall for a Sophie Marceau. So it's wasted. It's a real shame. I'll tell you what, you couldn't do that scene in the current climate, could you? Bond going around and looking at women's underwear and stuff.
No,
well, because it's a PG-13. He's basically...
It's a good job it's not bra-proof. It's not see-through bra.
Well, I think the point is we're supposed to almost read that, because there are shots where he's looking at things we can't see. And they wouldn't all be wearing bras and things like that. So I don't think you could do that in the current climate. Bond will always be a bit of a pussy hand, but I don't think you can't have it as quite as on the nose as that now, I don't think.
Mr. Bullion. He does not trust banks.
Really?
Really?
Who does these days?
Well, that's very true.
I think I went over behind you guys. Never mind.
Well, it doesn't matter.
How does that hand?
I don't know. I pressed play when you went. Ooh! So.
Right, which?
Mind you, it's a long noise.
What are you watching now? What's
Go Go
Take a
by
look at this
time.
caviar.
Because yeah, well,
No, go by time. What time are you on?
I'll find out. Hold on. Eight 45, 30, 31, 32.
Yeah.
You're 1 second behind.
I literally
Literally
am.
one. You're 1 second behind. 40, 36, 37, 38. Yeah, you're fine. Close enough.
Yeah, I'm just behind talking about it. See, completely different attitude towards Bond than he did in GoldenEye, what we're portraying here. It's like, Bond, James Bond, my good friend!
Yeah, the guy in the previous film, it was the guy who ruined his life because he's in pain every morning.
Yeah. My knee aches.
What
Twice
is
as
it
bad
when
when
it's
it's
cold? What does it do when it's cold?
Which is more or less every day in Russia. She does look stunning, actually.
Yeah, particularly something about on the big screen as well. Cinematically, there was like that. She looked phenomenal in that dress on the big screen. And that was another thing. I mean, even if Denise Richards had been the best fucking actress in the world, it just felt like such a betrayal of what they built up. Because Bond in this era had to finish the film romancing a lady. And it was just like, no, don't just cram another fucking woman into this. You don't need it.
With a lame joke as well.
Yeah.
It almost felt like they had to have it in just so... They thought of that sort of, oh, that's a clever line. Yeah, we'll have to...
Let's call her Christmas then. You know, it's like... Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have like the strength of their convictions to kind of...
It's just
Do
don't call it that. Yeah, they you know, you've got quite a serious emotional film with a Roger Moore era kind of naming convention and joke in it. You know, it's just shit. No point living if you can't feel alive. I'm sure Pierce will echo that. Now, this made me laugh. I've got to interrupt there. Look behind them. That is Michael G. Wilson's cameo. And it's the worst decision on what to play as a cameo, because you got some real hard fucking looking bastard next to him, and then a middle-aged dweeb. It doesn't look right. And once you notice it, you can't unnotice it.
No, you cannot unsee. Not a very good cameo.
I don't know if we'll get to see it again, but it was like, why would you put him there?
I too would like to live dangerously.
Just 5. Yeah.
I suggest you hit stir. I'll
You
stay.
sort of miss it there, but yeah, there's a period where they stood just inside the door, and it was like they're such mismatched security.
But just to pick up from what you're saying about Ike, it was it really undermines the film. I do think they should have had the balls. I mean, we can say that now, but honestly, I think had they gone through with it, let's just say they've gone through like a darker tone and tried to do like a Majesty's-esque film, I think we'd have loved it now. But I think at the time, I think the reviews would have slayed it. I generally think it would have it might have almost like sort of damaged the series in terms of its initial reception. I think the critics would have gone, trying to do a Majesty's. Come on, this is not how to end a Bond film. Blah blah blah.
No, okay.
I'm not saying they're right,
reappraised by that, because I remember this film came out and it was fairly well received at the time. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't bear that out now, but then of course people weren't immediately looking at that aggregator. So, in some respects, the fact that the reviews worldwide weren't as strong as I might remember is almost irrelevant, in that, in a lot of fairly major publications, this was well regarded. And I remember reading an article about saying, well, where do they go from here? Because Pierce Brosnan's, the best Bond since Connery, etc. And they've just done this really popular film, but he isn't getting any younger. And they were saying about the potential for remaking old Bond films, which is a stupid idea and one that it really isn't worth discussing, because I'll never do it per se. But they were suggesting that On Her Majesty's Secret Service had been reappraised as a great film, but hadn't been that successful, and a lot of the general public didn't know it that well. So perhaps it would be an idea if he remade that. So there's no doubt by the end of the sort of decade, the end of the century, it was already being regarded as one of the best films in the series, but almost like a secret amongst the general public. You didn't know about it.
But that's the funny thing about like sometimes with criticism, they tend to sort of go on a what's the popular thing to say rather than like think outside the box and think about how good a film is in its own right.
I just think sometimes things change over time. I mean, Quantum of Solace has been very heavily reappraised, but I think an awful lot of that is because you're seeing it on a smaller screen. A lot of Quantum of Solace's problem was it doesn't work on the big screen. It's quite difficult to watch.
Yeah, it's quite tough.
She loves her ice, doesn't she?
She loves her ice.
She does.
And he's going to take her in the ice hole. I don't know if Sophie Marceau does a lot of English language stuff now. I don't. I think she should have been a major star in this, in English language, had she wanted to be, of course.
Mm. I don't think she's probably happy just making French films, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there don't tend to be many foreign actresses who break out in Hollywood. Generally speaking, they tend to sort of keep her in like do like French films or Spanish or whatever. I mean, it's only really like unless you're like Australian, because there's not really much market, so you tend to sort of go to America. It's not really a big market for Australian films, really, is there?
No, I don't.
Maybe in theatre, but I don't know.
You've lost me completely, Chris. Honestly, we were talking about a French actress, and you went on to the Australian film market and how
I don't know.
There isn't much of a market.
It's my mind sometimes. My mind just goes
I
random.
love the fact you said there's not much of a market for Australian films, are there? Except perhaps in theatre. So how does that work? People
No,
like
I mean
to go
abroad,
to
like sort of like theatre stage productions.
Gotcha. All right.
I
But
think
yeah,
just looking at Sophie Marceau's filmography, I think this is pretty much, apart from this, obviously, oh god, yeah, Anna Karenina. What else? Midsummer Night's Dream. That was a good adaptation. Braveheart. That was it. I think that was like her brief foray into
Midsummer
English
Night's
language
Dream
cinema.
would be a big thing. It would have been Braveheart.
Yeah. But seriously, in terms of Shakespeare adaptations, Midsummer Night's Dream, that's a really good adaptation. Check it out, listeners.
Or like, don't if you can't be asked.
Oh.
Remember when
I
all
don't
computers
think
were like
they're a
Ah.
that?
cultured bunch.
Yeah, but they're not, are they? They tune in hoping I say cunt a lot or something like
Ken
that.
Mearsa might be.
Why are you singling out Ken? Oh, it's because he likes bourbons. He's clearly a connoisseur.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I know Ken will understand.
Bourbons. All right, we got the point. Move on.
So this guy's shot his colleague, who now he has to pretend that he's that guy, and now Bond's going to kill him and pretend that he's the guy who is pretending to be the other guy.
Fuck knows. But he's infiltrated. Actually,
Infiltrated his layer.
That's where I first started thinking, oh, I'm not sure about this. The film's starting to struggle. But actually, we're getting very close to Denise Richards anyway now. We got the bit on the plane and all the rest of it, where he cuts up his Universal Exports card in order to make a pass to get into wherever it is they're going. But it's still not. We're not very close from Denise Richards. It's only 2 or 3 minutes away. And the film really, really takes a massive nose. But really, when you watch it back, as much as Denise Richards is emblematic of it, the film actually collapses after he leaves Elektra to go on this little fucking caper. It's from here on the film's not really any good.
Ooh.
But that's 53, 54 minutes of the film that I thought was pretty good, with flaws. See, if you were trying to hide the fact you just killed someone, I think burial puns isn't the way to go.
No, a bit dodgy.
I shot him. I mean, he's buried with work or something.
He was dead tired.
Yeah, he's done that one already.
Emphasis on dead as well. Raise your eyebrows. It's like, it was dead.
Did that already in Thunderball.
Dead to the world.
No, but it's in Commando, isn't it?
Well, Arnie's quips are very similar, actually. Starring John Matrix. Do you know, calling his character in Commando John Matrix is the same mentality that leads to men having like fucking really, really masculine sounding razors like Fusion. Like, grow up. I quite like Commando, but John Matrix, have a fucking word with yourself.
Yeah, but the film itself is is like a comic book in a way. It's not like it is an embellishment, because Arnie's like a super powered human, really.
Yeah.
No one can literally do the things he does in that film. With stupid lines like saying like, "What, you think I can smell him coming? I did." It's like you literally just sensed him. Like,
yeah, I know it's pretty bad,
but great.
But anyway, the casting's been quite good in this film so far, so I'm quite confident that whatever we see now is going to be great. So it's a nuclear scientist, okay, so it's going to be someone with a few years on the clock, quite intelligent bearing to them, quite serious and sobering about the work.
Yeah. Someone like Amy Adams, someone who's attractive.
Yeah, can easily be an attractive woman, but so a few years and quite astute.
Actually, Jessica Chastain, who's stunning.
Well, if you were doing it now, yeah.
I mean, she could easily play like blonde bimbo, very easily, but also plays really smart scientist lady.
Anyway, no, a nuclear scientist. They're not going to get this wrong. Oh, okay. Well, as long as they don't go all like fucking Lara Croft. Oh.
She might be really good at it, Dave. You never know.
Oh, no, it should be all right. I'm sure she's all about the work.
No.
Oh, God. Her hips are knocking people out either side.
Duff.
And you are.
No, I need duff.
I didn't realise she was that short.
No, he's just very tall.
Well, he's what, 6'1"? Most of the Bonds are. So, what would that make her? Looking at that, 5'6", something like that.
5'6", 7. Also, it's quite a rocky environment they're in. So.
What? So he could be stood on a big rock, and
maybe
rolling around on it. Look her up. I'm going to look her up in Google image search with the word tits after it, just so I might accidentally know. I'll look up. I'm looking up her IMDb.
www.imdb.com.
I mean, to be fair on Denise Richards, she does like try. She does, she doesn't like sort of.
Well, you wouldn't turn this down, would you? I said 5'6", and she is. That was a bit of luck, really, but she's 5'6". Yeah. It says here she's divorced from Charlie Sheen.
Really?
I thought that would work. Actually, if you were just off the point very quickly, she took part in this like big deposition when she was divorcing Charlie Sheen on his behaviour during the marriage, and that is online and it's horrible.
What in terms of what he?
Yeah, in terms of his behaviour. Just kind of creepy as well.
Was that in the Tiger Blood era, or was that before?
I think that was kind of after, but yeah, she said he was. I mean, he watched pornography, which was one thing, but apparently he was obsessed with it, and a lot of it was like very, very young people. And just some of the things she said about his behaviour. I've forgotten a lot of the details, but it's a lengthy deposition, and I did read it all one day, because it's one of those things that you start reading and you just can't stop. It's just like, fucking hell.
Mm.
Although this predates all of that, obviously.
Did you hear the accusation about him and Corey Haim?
I did. I don't really know what to make of that. I'm at the stage now, and it's slightly unfair to Charlie Sheen, because you could accuse him of anything, and in some respects, he can't literally have done everything. But at the same time, there's nothing about him I wouldn't believe at this point.
Mm.
And yet you hear examples of extraordinary kindness from him. He's a very complex individual. You know, almost George Michael-like. And you know how you read stories about George Michael paying off like people's debts without them knowing and things like that. Charlie Sheen's a bit like that. Charlie Sheen's done an awful lot of that stuff. And then you see horrendous behaviour in relationships and so on. Is it possible Charlie Sheen did it? It's possible, but unfortunately Corey Haim's not around.
Yeah.
But if that sort of thing did happen, then it throws into sharp relief that guy having troubles all the way through his life and dying young.
Well, it's like part of it. It's like Corey Feldman, isn't it? It keeps spewing. He wants to make a film now, doesn't he?
I don't know. I see these things when they come up. I don't sort of chase this information, to be honest. But yeah, I did see that.
I don't normally like killing an unarmed man, ugly, but it's like, no, you're not. You're Bond.
You're Bond. You do it quite often.
It's your job. Fuck off.
I mean, you literally did it like a few hours ago.
Yeah, but he's rethought his life since then.
He's had a major rethink.
It's not worth living if you can't feel alive. You knew everything about my shoulder.
You had to hurt me.
Shoulder. What exactly would you hurt me?
Are you turning into Tim Dalton there with your Welsh accent?
You burned me. Well, that's the next film.
That was a good one.
Oh, give him squinty eyes.
The other thing is, not only do I get more Welsh during that, but the "you burn me" bit gets more sensual every time, and I'm sure that's not the way to talk to M.
Very sexy. Is that a chat-up line for you? You burn me.
Oh, God.
You had me.
My
hello.
ring of fire.
Oh my God.
Oh, pain face.
Oh, pretty nice.
Oh, I miss pain face.
He's so bad at that.
What's your pain? Pierce pain.
No one ever pointed it out to him. Like, Pierce, that looks fucking weird. Try and do something a bit different.
Well, maybe that is. Maybe when he stubs his toe, that's exactly the face he gets.
Well, it's sort of, the corners of his mouth spread out as far as possible, and all his neck tightens.
Well, we had Sean, Sean with a signature lisp. George, I don't know.
Didn't have a lisp.
Well, no, it was, kind of speech impediment. I don't know what you would call it.
James Bond.
I don't know. What was his thing? What's he got? Rogers.
To be fair, Sean's
Speech
speech pattern wasn't as pronounced when he was younger.
No.
It got more pronounced with age.
As he got older. So what would his thing be then, I guess?
Yeah.
Any feature?
Roger just continually came in his pants and was really oily.
Oily.
I love Roger Moore, but his Bond was really fucking sleazy in places. It's Moonraker, where he's undressing that woman before they.
What does one do in Rio when?
Not that, Roger. Let her show some interest first, Not just, well, your ear.
It's probably part of the contracts, like, when we get signed to him, oh, you're with Bond. So I'm have to, yep. Right.
Yeah, I just found it a bit sleazy.
Shoulder in pain.
Brosnan's got a bit of that, but he's got partly he's got so little chemistry with his leading ladies it doesn't come off quite the same way, but also there's a softness to him anyway. As an actor, it's not quite as bad. Look at that, dressed as Lara Croft to go to work, decontaminating things. Fucking weird.
Oh, he got shot and he doesn't feel it.
Well, I think that's paid off the character trait perfectly. I think that's enough, don't you, Chris?
Yeah.
Yep.
No need to do any more now, I wouldn't say.
Well, maybe if he like punches like a table through and picks out some shards or something.
Oh, that would be amazing. I think that would make it the best film in the series.
Yeah.
Do you know what would be even better? Because I imagine when he makes love to a woman, he probably ain't going to feel anything now. So perhaps some ice would help.
Hang on a minute. Wasn't Electra using ice?
My goodness, this thing writes itself. And actually, it looks like it did write itself. I remember, I'll point it out in a minute, actually. Doesn't matter. Just wait for a moment. I'll get to the point I was going to make.
Beep.
Well, when he went on, Pierce Brosnan went on TFI Friday around the time this film was released. Or I think it was TFI Friday. It was something like that. Although I'm held back by it. I think it was Chris Evans, right near the end of Chris Evans' run on it. And he said to him, he was talking about the sequence, and he played the bit where they're climbing up now towards, the surface, and him saying Bond, and then, shooting up several fucking, hundreds of meters, and then saying James Bond. But as she climbs, he said, I'm sure you'll get away with it providing you don't look. And it plays the scene where she's climbing up the stairs, and he quite clearly has a lingering look at her ass. Mm. Chris Evans pointed it out.
So let's have a look, because he does the scene.
He does. You'll see it in a minute.
Incidentally, I think this is probably one of the worst James Bonds in the series.
Bond.
Yes.
Not
Bond.
just because he looks at her ass, but
Largely,
James Bond. So shut
I
up.
thought you said licks her ass. I don't remember that happening.
No, sorry.
Rimmer. I agree, and it's because they've over fucking thought it. Mm. It's not that hard. Just say Bond, James Bond. Sometimes it'll sound
James
better than
Bond.
others.
Oh, he does have a good look, doesn't he?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
he does have a good look. Copper knifeful, brother.
Yeah, which I think is disgraceful because I'm way more into tits. Fake though they are.
Things that they've already done that as well. It's normally you do it once in a film, do the line, but they've done it twice.
Well, yeah, because they've crammed in another leading lady, effectively, and the writers have got confused with it because more than one woman in a film isn't unusual. But more than one woman, us being convinced is the leading woman, is very much the exception. And he tends to introduce himself to them. And it's confused them. It really has. Having said that, his best delivery of that line was in Goldeneye, and he actually said it to Xenia, not his leading lady.
James Bond.
I think he should go back and have a fucking strong word with Electra in a strong Welsh accent. And if not, we'll parody one.
Can you imagine an alternate universe where Tim Dalton's still doing this shit?
Where she says there, put it on the wall screen. Firstly, that's a weird wall screen because there's two of them and it's portrait. But also, Judi Dench, as good as she is, always made it sound to me like she'd never heard of such technology. Put it on the wall screen. It's just not very well done.
I
mean, like it does sound lame, but it is exactly what it sounds like it is.
No, I know. It's just occasionally you'll meet people who aren't very good with technology, and when they reference technology, they sound awkward. He should have a bloody good word with her now. Give her a stern fucking talking to. Oi, bitch. I've just been talking to some big-titted woman.
I stared at her ass. I always find that laughable how Pierce Brosnan just knocked him out.
Yeah, because Pierce Brosnan clearly has the build that would knock people out with one punch. Surprised? I should ask you. He's so petulant here. Here we go. After all, there's no point in living if you can't feel alive. Isn't that right, Electra? Isn't that your motto? He says motto like that for some reason.
Motto, Albion.
Oh no, he goes posh on that one word. That's what, you're all about you're about my shoulder. Except you would hurt me.
That's hilarious.
Drop the act. It's over. Don't you?
It's not going to be Sophie.
Oh, alright then.
Sorry.
Oh, that's going to be shagging. If you don't know. Stockholm Syndrome. Wow.
See,
Comedy
Bond's learned pretty quick, really, isn't he? Like, oh right, well, you're the villain, and she just goes, well, that doesn't actually prove anything because he could have found out all those things without me telling him. And he's like, all right then.
Yeah. But again, the postulation is that it's Stockholm Syndrome, and actually, that kind of isn't borne out by the film. Pierce Brosnan is shit at being slapped acting. He does that in the last film.
He had the reaction
his head
shot.
just shoots to the fucking right with it. It just looks awful when he's slapped. Used your exact words. She kind of changes the subject there. But she has a point. If she was innocent here, it would be like, hang on a minute, you knew he was after me. The point, used her as bait, missing the point that he fucked off out last night as well. Oh, you'll be safe here. She's not safe anywhere. That's the point.
Mm-hmm. But it's also channeling like her emotion and like almost like a motive for revenge, almost like using me as bait. Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Using me as bait. Well, you smell a fish.
Well, come on, there's a time and a place for that. Yep. Denise Richards there for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
What? What?
Alright, yeah, it's a bit of that, isn't it? They're old friends, so she will, of course, address her as M.
What?
Well, no one's not known to know her name, are they? Which is bullshit now because we now
Yeah,
know.
but in the job, fair enough.
Which is bullshit now because
For example, I reckon her husband would probably know her name.
Yeah.
You know, they still have a personal life.
Yeah, but you're not allowed to utter it like in the
Presence of,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
But it's kind of daft now. Like now we all know M's name now. Well, the current M, which is Mallory. So
To what end? I love that. Why would she attack her own pipeline? The writers really haven't worked that out yet. So, you know, it's like, I don't know yet. But in fact, there's no real good reason, so fuck it. And in fact, there's absolutely no need to do that, because the whole point of irradiating Istanbul later is because 3 of the lines go through that and hers doesn't. There's absolutely no need for this sequence except to cram in another action sequence and give Denise Richards something to do.
is he saying this film could have been shorter?
It's not the length of the film that's particularly a problem, because this is pretty average Bond film length, just a shade over 2 hours, 2:05 to 2:10, something like that. It's about average, I'd say. It's more the fact that you can set your watch by action sequences in the Brosnan era, and it's not doing the era any favours. We understand modern filmmaking's got quite a lot of action in it. I think quite often for this type of film, it's got too much action in it. But the Brosnan era is much time for another action sequence, and this one is so contrived it's painful. There's absolutely no need for this at all. Because they had no idea. Bond goes to try and do something about it, yeah? But the only reason he goes to do something about it is he's got a nuclear physicist with him. But she can't know that she would be there, and that they would go there, and that M would definitely have gone to her as well. She's gambled on this happening for a load of things to come out of this that she can't know would happen.
It's always a thing in films where you just think, hang on, how would they know that would happen in for certain?
I mean, it's forgivable in that if you give it all the leaps that like they would know, but even then, it's very much a contrived action sequence, and the Brosnan era is really, really bad for that. For nothing feeling organic, nothing feeling like the plot has taken us to another action sequence.
Well, I think it's largely because that GoldenEye did well and was well received. I thought, oh, okay, well,
yeah, and GoldenEye was cheap as well, so a lot of it is they're throwing money at it now, so they can do these big set pieces. Part of it is they've got like a bigger sandpit to play in now, and it's not in and of itself a terrible sequence, but it's just it is a little bit pointless.
I reckon on paper it probably sounded like a really cool sequence, but looking at it now, it doesn't look very like it. Just alright, well, Bond's just on a thing, and he has to disarm this thing, and then jump off it. It's not like an actual like car chase where you can actually get involved in the action. It's just like bunch of people looking at a screen and
look at that. He can have some fun while he's there. Becca, thoughts?
Sexy scene.
Yeah,
this tunnel scene is very cheesy for me. I just cringe all the way through it.
the film's collapsed by now a bit.
It really has collapsed.
But it's a sign of it's so much of it is the relationship.
I do think the language goes, somebody's going to have my ass, and Bond's like, well, first things first. I think that's quite funny.
Yeah, they put that in the trailer.
Yeah, that's a big laugh line for me.
What I love is, right, in the sort of family-friendly version of it, they'd say, someone's going to have my butt. Because, that's just so much better. Don't say ass. Like, that would imply anal sex, whereas butt, no.
No.
It's weird. The strange morality around different cuts of the film. But, yeah, they did stick that in the trailer, and it was just first things first. And it looked really cool, and it looked fun. I was looking forward to this a lot. And I really, really liked it at the time. Because I felt GoldenEye was all right, but it was more that it was promising, more than it was inherently good. And like Tomorrow Never Dies always felt like a paint-by-numbers Bond film. It's not terrible, but it's just... there's nothing particularly outstanding about it. And so by the time this came out, there was some real heart and emotion in it, which kind of led me to kind of overrate it a bit, I think.
I always thought he's an odd-looking, like, bodyguard / henchman, that dude.
Well, the thing is, he looks like a henchman. He does give it away a bit.
But he doesn't have any, like, sort of charisma, like, or memorability of that, memorability? What the fuck are you talking about, Chris? You know, it's not like a Jaws or an Odd Job where he's, like, has some character to him.
Definitely. But I think that quite often, and again,
he just looks like a boxer with a bad wig.
I felt that they were trying. The Brosnan era is a bit greatest hits anyway, and I just think they put. He's got a bit of Odd Job about him. He's got a little bit of Jaws about him because he's so large. And when you look at Stamper, he's got a bit of Red Grant about him, and I just think they stuck people in to almost evoke other eras as opposed to stand on their own 2 feet. Having said that, I mean, he doesn't have much in the way of lines or anything, so I mean, it's not offensive, but you do look at it and think, well, you haven't really done anything with that, have you?
Yeah.
But then, it would get confused if Renard's got his own henchman and she's got her own henchman, but he's her henchman, and The other thing is, it's a sign of how far we've come in the Craig era that we expect Bond to get a bit battered up now. Him having a dodgy shoulder was, I think, the first time in the official series that it had been like, yeah, he's vulnerable, even though they do nothing with it except occasionally,
reference that it's hurt.
Yeah.
Well,
know all about the shoulder?
Well, yeah, it is basically just like a plot point, something to sort of say, oh, right, well, it's something that Bond can say that... No, it's something that someone can say to Bond that he can go, oh, hang on, that's weird. Because look at him now, he doesn't feel like he's wounded, and he's just literally survived the explosion.
No, but you just had a moment where he got out of the tunnel, which looks really... That doesn't look like a real accident's happened there. You see it sometimes when you see things that have been burnt, and it looks like they've been sort of made up to look burnt as opposed to really burnt, which they have, of course. And you look at all the fire there and the actual damage at the end of the pipeline, it doesn't look real at all.
Oh well, at least he's got Lara Croft to help him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beluga.
What was the Caspian?
Her lines here are terrible. Always nice to see Istanbul. It's funny, just that they would never have set out to make Istanbul a big thing in this series at all. But of course, From Russia with Love's kind of iconic, and it does turn up every now and again. So when it goes there in Skyfall, it's like Istanbul's a thing in the Bond series all of a sudden. You know what I mean? It's not all of a sudden, but when it comes back again, it reminds you that the series has some history with that place. It's a bit like Tangier in Spectre. You immediately think of the Living Daylights.
Yes, definitely.
Where's Bond hasn't been? What is there? What?
Where hasn't he been? Woof. Sorry, where hasn't he been? He's never been to Australia.
Bond Down Under.
He's never. He's gone down on some women, but he's never been down under.
It's not really a Bondish destination, though, is it? But
oh, you can't imagine what's it going to be at the heart of it. It's so far away from anywhere. I don't know that he's ever been to Canada. Can't think of that.
No, he hasn't been to America very often, has he?
Yeah, but he's been there. He's
been there.
He's been there fairly often.
Oh, basically never been. Okay.
Bond's never gone to Washington.
Yeah, it doesn't work with places he's been merely 4 times. That doesn't
fair
enough.
Bond in Hollywood.
Yeah, where hasn't he been? Mainly Australia, New Zealand?
I can't hear where hasn't he been without thinking woof at the end.
Where haven't I been?
Woof. Ireland?
He's not been to Ireland.
I'm trying to think.
Cornwall?
Basically the blatant unglamorous
Middlesex?
Cheltenham.
Exeter.
He's not even stopped into there to watch Unbreakable.
Phone up the movie line.
Well, he's been to Scotland, so they ticked that off the
list. Say that and see what happens.
Yeah.
Wales? He's not been to Wales.
Wales.
I'm not laughing at Wales particularly. It's just like pulling that out of nowhere. But
It's an unglamorous location.
Well, he's been to Scotland, so why not Wales?
I don't know. It's just. But Bond was half Scottish. What would be his excuse for Wales?
He's never been to me.
Dalton was Welsh.
Yes.
And he was the best one, so I don't know.
Well, he went to Island City.
He went to where?
Island City.
All the girls are pretty.
Yeah, take me down to the Island City. President Pedro Armendariz Jr. So beautiful.
Oh, look what we have here.
Sexy scene.
Is he going to pull some ice cubes now?
Yeah. I can't feel that. And I don't even have a stiffy. They don't put classy dialogue like that in this. I do believe.
Oh, there's no point in living if you can't feel alive and you can't feel anything. Oh, the irony.
Yes, but it's also that he's about to, fulfill all of his ambitions in the crime world, and so it's like he's at his most alive as he's closest to death. Themes unshit.
Themes unches.
Oh, he's just punched the table. But what I want to know is it like he's basically he's like willing. He's basically sending himself to die. But what about his men? Are they all like, yeah, okay, we'll die for your love life?
As long as you get your dick sucked, we're quite happy to die. Can't say fairer than that.
You've been a good boss to us. We don't mind dying with you. We don't mind dying for your psycho bitch crazy girlfriend. Where's that hand going?
I think it's technically known as touching her twat.
Technical term.
Sorry to blind you, but that was Dave's science corner for this episode.
Dave's science corner.
Yes. Which is something we talked about in previously recorded but as yet unreleased episodes, thanks to our fucked up schedule. We're calling back to the future, see?
Great Scott.
Well, this does not look like a set.
It really doesn't.
No, I think he means it does.
Actually, I do. Yeah, ironically, I do love his line at the very end of the scene.
What, the insurance company?
Insurance company, I'm never going to believe
I have to
this.
admit, on paper, you'd expect me to hate that line. I laughed at it out loud.
I laughed out loud. It's
I liked it. I still quite like it.
I think when you read it on paper, it sounds like a really dumb line, but when you see it in context, it's like it's like speaking for the audience, where you think like, how much does this fucking cost in damages? And it's just.
Having said that, yeah, but that as well, Chris. But not only that, we've all got contradictions in our fandom, because it's not the sort of elements. I like Bond to be funny, by the way, but we just disagree on, or not you and I, but me and some of the fan base disagree on what is funny. People see Casino Royale's really dire. I think it's serious, and I think it's got some really funny lines in it. I don't see it as a dour film. That was the word I was looking for. On paper, I shouldn't like this line, but there are contradictions occasionally. Roger in Octopussy, a film I famously loathe, said no. I'm with the economy tour. That's a cheesy line when his life's just been in danger, but I found it funny.
That's quite funny.
So
it's how he delivers the line. It's like, no, I'm with the economy tour.
Yeah, and here the insurance company, he says it with such gusto as well.
It really does.
So yeah, there are all these things where you think, well, actually, it's a bit of a contradiction, because theoretically I shouldn't like that, but I do. And yeah, that's one of those lines. But I think this is the character in Microcosm. She was put there to look hot to distract him, and that was it. And later on, he says something about the caviar, and she says sour cream or something, and it's just such a forced line from someone who's not really an actress. Well, she is an actress, but she was kind of a model, really, wasn't she?
I was trying to think what was she in before. Like, what was her kind
Well, I think Wild Things predated this.
Yeah. But was she in something before? I mean, I know she was in Drop Dead Gorgeous the same year.
I don't know. I'll look her up. I mean, I think she started off in. Did she start off in Playboy and things like that?
I don't know.
Let's have a look. So going back a bit towards when this was made. So, just sort of thinking as an adult, and she was in the odd episode of lots of well-known series. But if I look for the first thing where it's more than a couple of episodes, guesting, the first thing I can see there that's major is Starship Troopers.
That was it. Yeah.
Mm. But she's got a few things in post-production now. They're not necessarily massive, but she's still working. I didn't. It's funny because I wouldn't want them to go back to BMW now, but I think because the series had been away for so long, and Astons weren't as big a thing by the end of the Dalton era. I know he had one in Living Daylights, but he only had the one. Roger never drove one. So they hadn't really been a big thing. So when they came back with BMW, it was like, fair enough.
I was never really bothered by cars. I was just like, yeah, okay. Right. I was actually more concerned about the gadgets on them. I was like, I'm a good set pieces.
It's part of the branding now, though.
Hmm.
He's meant to drive Aston Martins. I think had they put Dalton in something else that had been distinctive, say Dalton had driven Jaguars, then perhaps it would have established that the Bonds, could have different cars, and maybe each Bond would be associated with a different one, because we do associate Roger with Lotuses.
Mm.
Even though it's only in a couple of films, we do associate him with Lotuses.
Well, it's only really one film. You barely used in the other film, wasn't it?
He does have one in For Your Eyes Only, though. But he's put this rather extreme anti-theft device on it.
I mean,
can you imagine discussing that at the dealership? Okay, so optional extras. So we can put these seats in, and they're heated, and yeah, brilliant. Sound system, we can put cassettes in, or just a radio, or whatever. Right, okay. Security. Now, I imagine security is important. We're doing a lot of travelling areas you don't know, yeah. Well, we've got this anti-theft device that we can put on it. Well, we can just have an alarm, but for an extra £2,000, you can put on a device. It's really clever. If someone tries to break the window, it will blow up.
Yeah, if someone just brushes by it.
Yeah.
It will explode, instantly killing them.
Yeah.
How great is that?
Well, it'll give you. Thanks. That will give me tremendous peace of mind.
No, just sign here and say that we know no repayments for any damages to your car should it be broken. Should the anti-theft device work as it should do.
But we will give you a complimentary Nissan Micro while we try and assemble the 10% of it that survived.
Nissan Micro.
My first car was a Nissan Micro.
Oh, nice.
Thanks. I always thought it made me a bit of a man about town.
Yes.
The ladies love it.
Mine was a Vauxhall Corsa.
That's some dodgy fucking effects there. Which a Vauxhall Corsa is the same sort of car, really, isn't it? Although I had it slightly earlier in the Nissan Micro, but yeah. Becca's first car was a Boss, wasn't it?
It probably will be, that's right.
You can't drive, can you?
No.
It's quite easy. You just sort of turn the wheel and press stuff with your feet. Piece of piss.
Just make sure you don't hit anything.
Yeah.
No, but I'm already reading Kittens, won't that suffice? No, I don't know what my first car will be. It most likely might be a bike.
Depends how long it's going to be. It may be a self-driving one.
It might be at this rate. I'll sit back and go. I don't know. Home, James, and it's for the
It's
horses.
the or sour cream line. It's like, why give her a line there particularly?
Yeah, it's a bit useless.
She's a bit
Shut
useless.
her up.
But it isn't all her fault. I am with Chris
No.
on that. You could be really harsh on her. She was approached to do a Bond film, or she auditioned for a Bond film, whichever way round. And the studio said, yeah. And the thing is, they like a bit of stunt casting. This is why I don't hold Eon sacrosanct. As good of a job as they've done, they fuck things up occasionally. And they cast her here. They cast Halle Berry in the next one. They cast Terry Hatcher in the previous one. They are not averse to just putting fucking whoever in because they seem unsure of their audience.
But she does try. She doesn't just sort of turn up and just be shit callously. She does, like, give it a go. She doesn't, like...
She does, and they always do. I can't think of a Bond girl who just didn't make an effort. I mean, you know, Tanya Roberts as Stacey Sutton. She worked very hard in the role. She wasn't very good, but she did her best. Jinx works really hard. You know, Halle Berry, obviously, as Jinx, works really hard.
Oh, poor Halle Berry.
She's crap, but she works hard.
She does. No, she really does. Catwoman is fun to watch.
No, it ain't. It's shit.
Yeah, that's why it's fun to watch.
When she's in the outfit and she's walking along, meant to be all feline,
Looks pants.
she's pulling blue steel.
She really is.
Her face is permanently Derek Zoolander.
Hasn't Halle Berry been good in some things now?
Well, she was very good in Monsters Ball the previous year.
X-Men, generally.
Well, the previous year to that. She's crap in X-Men, Becca. I don't know where. You've said that before. What is it you're seeing? She's bloody awful in them.
The line she did give us about, like, what happens when a toe gets hit by lightning. Classic.
Yeah. And she did that terrible accent in the first film.
No, it's just a bad performance, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah. But yeah, she was in Monsters Ball the year before Die Another Day, and she's outstanding in that film. And I don't think anyone could convince me otherwise. I think that's a really great performance. She deserved her Oscar.
Was Brosnan wearing a very light...
They always put him in a suit. That suit cost about £7,000 or something like that.
Fuck off, really?
That suit was handmade for him. I remember reading something about it. Having said that, I read it probably north of a decade ago, so I could have misremembered any of the details. But the point is, they put him in some expensive suits, and this was one of them.
I just think... I'm sure it is a nice suit, but it doesn't look...
It's not £7,000 worth, is it?
I mean, to be honest, that looks like off the rack at M&S.
I could just imagine it looks a little better than that, but I could just imagine.
No, do you know what I mean?
I can hear David Brent in my head where they say to him like, "Who did you suit?" and he just goes like, "Sergio Giorgini."
Sergio Giorgini.
It's also, I think one of the things I like about the Craig era that he's not wearing a suit everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's no reason for you to like keep wearing a suit.
He's fed up with not. He's fed up with not being able to breathe in the fucking thing. This was only a problem from Skyfall onwards. It wasn't a problem in these first two films. Honestly, at the time, I was so disappointed by Quantum of Solace. I really was, and I had a tough time watching it in the cinema. And I'm not going to suddenly try and retcon it as a great film, but they threw the baby out with the bathwater. They changed direction, and everything about the change of direction. I wish they'd just carried on that whole Quantum arc and kept dressing him like that, and just kept on with the whole style of his first two.
But the point, yeah, things you had time as well. I mean, possibly if they
just... So most people disagree with me. The thing is, Skyfall is regarded as, you know, this great, beautiful Bond film.
It's not.
And actually, I don't think it is. I think there's some great shots in it, by the way. But it's very washed out. They're dressing him in too tight a clothing. He's got that stupid fucking buzz cut.
It's too navel gazy. It's just too like it's knowing as a Bond film. It's too like, look at me, I'm a superior M&S quality brand Bond film. You know, look at me. You know, and I think it's that part of it. Just thinks, oh, just no.
I mean, you have more problems with it than me, but all I'm saying is, I do believe Skyfall is a better film than Quantum of Solace. I can't really argue any different.
No,
but,
I mean, I can't argue with that too much.
But I would still have preferred an extrapolation of where we were after Quantum of Solace. Carry that on. Don't panic because it wasn't brilliant. But they threw everything away. Skyfall feels like a different era to the first two.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you had such a huge gap as well.
That didn't help, to be fair.
I mean, had they carried on like 2 years straight afterwards, you would have done like as we both wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, even so, I think for all of our problems with Skyfall, we recognise it's extremely popular. I do think it's a superior Bond film in that it is in my top 10. I do only just, but it is. I do recognise that, you know, it will be one of the name Bond films in decades to come. So I can't knock it too hard, but the fact that its end result may be good and better than Quantum of Solace doesn't mean you were on the wrong path with the first two he did. That's all I mean.
I mean, you could have done Skyfall and then jumped straight back on Quantum, couldn't you?
Yeah, he could have. I thought that's what they were going to do. I thought that was their attempt to do Goldfinger in his era, because Goldfinger was outside of the whole Spectre arc.
Yeah.
But of course, they fucked that up in Spectre by saying Silver was a Spectre agent, which absolutely no way.
No, I didn't know how that fits in.
But anyway.
I mean, you can. I think we said this, but I mean, like, we can always buy it. Like, you can always buy the fact that, yeah, okay, in terms of like Quantum was part of Spectre, all right, but there was just no need for it as well. I mean, like, why did you have to tie?
It's also the moment you think about it, because if you go back to the events of Casino Royale, and I won't say it all again because people have heard it on other podcasts, and I don't want to repeat too much, but the fact that it went as far as the card game was happenstance. If Bond hadn't stopped the plot at Miami, and the very fact that they ended up at Casino Royale with Vesper there and assigned to him was happenstance. It was pure luck. You couldn't have pre-planned that. But anyway, back to Brosnan being strapped into a sex toy.
One last screw.
What is this designed for? Is it designed for like a bit of sort of asphyxiation play? Is it a sex toy?
That's a touch device, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, could be. I mean, I don't know.
But
I'm just happy we get to see a lot more of Boston's pain face. Yeah. He's pulling it already, and he's like not even started yet.
Nothing's happened yet. He pushes his bottom jaw out. That's part of it. He pushes that out slightly, and he pulls the corners of his mouth back. It's weird. His pain face. And you know what? I don't think I'd ever even noticed it. I think it got pointed out to me. And once it had been pointed out to me, it was like, fuck, it's ruined. A couple of things have ruined his Bond. In fact, the biggest thing that's ruined his Bond is Daniel Craig. But a couple of things have ruined it within the films themselves. And one of them is that. And the other one is the narrowing his eyes and pursing his lips. He does that all the time. He's so limited as an actor. We could do better than this if we sort of, did a bit of weight.
She's got a funny ear. But it is a good Bond trick, though. I do like that, like slight disfigurement.
Yeah, I do, and I thought they did it perfect in Casino Royale. Everyone says it's not, but of course he is so quintessentially a Bond villain, and that just little eye thing was perfect.
I do think Silver's was a little bit forced.
Yes, I agree with that. I don't even know that's how cyanide works, to be honest, but all right. I still think Silver's one of the better villains of that era. I mean, I do, but
largely down to the actor, though.
But again, that's happenstance as well, because if they'd gone to lockdown and decided to go somewhere else, or put him in a different cell, I can't believe they've only got one cell down there, and it's also reliant on Q plugging that laptop into the network. If he hadn't done that, too much of it is happenstance. I get annoyed when they've got so many minds on these scripts and they fail at basic
It's just a bit hard
things.
to believe as well, like so that some of that technology can can instantly hack into something just by plugging it into the internet. It's just something a little bit hard to believe.
Even if you gave it that pass, there is a ridiculous amount of coincidence needed for it to work. It's not a very clever script, Skyfall, for all the praise it got. What is praiseworthy about Skyfall is, as much as I don't like its look, it tried to look a bit different, and it tried a different approach.
Plain face.
Oh, James. Guns firing. It's a shame, really, because Brosnan's pretty good in this film, but he's obviously terrible anytime he does the pain face. So one of his last scenes in the film is this. It's in the last few minutes, and he's really shit in this scene. I was actually gutted Tarkovsky died, because I thought he was going to be his lighter. I was expecting him to sort of in the next film.
There is a kind of like a shame as well. There's like you think, oh,
yeah,
but also he does go out like a bitch.
He does a bit, yeah.
It's like, bring it to me.
Well, it's not only that. Look at the way Elektra stood with that. It's bloody obvious what's happening.
Yeah.
And Brosnan pulls the same expression he pulls for everything else. But yeah, it's one of the more stylish of his era. I quite like the costume design and stuff like that in this film. And the mansion she lives in and stuff. And, it's quite a nice looking film in places. Doesn't have the wildly... It's got good production design and good costume design, not necessarily the greatest sort of...
script. And also, this could have gone horribly wrong. What if he missed and just shot him in the leg?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like the most accurate of shots.
No, it doesn't. But it was absolutely bang on.
It's quite a complex motive as well. It's like I could get revenge myself, but I know.
But yeah, I mean, he could have just fucking shot her and probably crawled over and got him out of that, just about. But anyway, don't matter.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh dear.
I love how he's saying them as like an afterthought.
This is
Bond!
a bit
like... fuck, here you are.
This is a bit like... This reminds me partly because they're going up a staircase, but it kind of reminds me a bit of the Batman film in that they're running up there and you're never quite sure why. Don't know that the film collapses in the second half. I don't know why they're doing any of this. And when he gets there, it's like, you wouldn't hurt me, you wouldn't kill me, I think she says. And it's like, on what basis have you come to that conclusion? You've got no reason to believe that. And he shoots her quite easily. And the film tries to add some gravitas to it by having him stand looking a bit mournful over her for a second. And maybe that's true, because I think he did fall for a bit, but he had no difficulty shooting her by this point. He realises he's been crossed. He realises she's evil. He realises her plot's going to kill millions of people. He has no trouble shooting her. None.
Well, the thing is, they don't have as much time as you think they do in the film.
No, but he falls for her. The script definitely tells us earlier that he is falling for her. He's not wanting to fall for her, and he does anyway. So... I kind of buy all that. That's all right.
I mean, I do like how it does play, but I think we could have had the script could have been better to justify it a little bit more, like just to make us feel it a bit more.
It feels like a different character when she suddenly is going, "You won't shoot me."
Oh, she's
I'm like, where the fuck
she's...
did that come from?
Yeah.
Go on, shag her, Pierce. She's dead. You love all that.
You love all that necrophilia shit.
Yeah. And M can watch. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Oh, the jacket's coming off.
Yeah, he's taking his clothes off to go back in and do her. He just wants to look out and... Oh, all right. He's actually fallen in there. He was taking his clothes off just with a nice view. Was going to go back in and do her, and he fell off. And he's like, well, now I'm here. I might as well fucking save us. Still, I think Denise Richards should have a lot to offer going forward in this film.
Yeah, she could be the new Tracy as far as I...
Oh, God almighty. I reckon he's going to fall right in love with her now.
Such a shame. Could have been a really special...
This should have been special. This is the only Bond film of the Pierce Brosnan era that I think had the potential to be one of the great ones. GoldenEye is too safety first, too by the numbers. I understand why people like it. I'm not criticising people liking it, but it couldn't have been a top 3 Bond film, in my opinion. This could have been, but it blew it.
Oh, well.
He's making himself a nice big sex toy there, look.
Yeah, penetrating something.
Oh dear.
So it's literally they're all sending him to die, all these people, all these guys working for him.
And they love it, they're quite happy.
Like, yeah, it's your boss. Yep. They're all jihadis for the goal to make his girlfriend rich.
Do they know they're going to their death?
Well, that's the thing, it's not established, is it?
What's he told them? I mean, I do at least like this, and I mean, it's one of the things about Die Another Day that Tamahori did say. He said, well, rather than just the traditional layer, let's try something different, so we'll have it on a plane, and the plane's disintegrated and stuff. This was a different place to finish a Bond film. There's ideas here.
I mean, I will say this. I mean, when I saw this at the cinema, this was kind of a surprise because you didn't really see this in the previews. None of the action stuff was in the previews, so it was actually nice.
Yeah, it wasn't really in the trailers. They must have shot it quite late, and in fact, it may even have been a rewrite. Who knows?
But it seemed like a nice surprise. I was like, oh, quite nice, an action scene we wasn't aware of.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's all right. The fight between him and Renard at the end is fucking pathetic, to be honest.
Mm.
Again, I don't... it really depends. There's something... It depends how you characterise him. Because when I look at him in this film, he looks a little fucking weed, right? But having said that, when you watch him play Begbie, or even Albie Kinsella in Cracker, he's deeply scary. So, terrifying. There you go, catchphrase time. Again, a reference from a show we've not recorded yet, honest.
It's generally my catchphrase.
It is terrifying because Becca thinks everything's terrifying. We talked about it in another show. But yeah, they have a fist fight in a minute. Not only that, not only do I not believe these two fucking weeds having a fight, but not only that, he looks like he's in pain at different points, and the whole fucking character point is he doesn't feel any pain.
Ridiculous. Please.
He was just mimicking Pierce's face.
Plus, let's be honest, right? They put her in a nice white t-shirt and submerge her, and her nipples don't even show. What a waste.
Well, I don't get, we talk about Friends. We've always forever seen their fucking nipples through their tops.
Well, Jennifer Aniston's, yeah.
It's like, did you ever wear bras?
Do you know there was a sort of fan theory that she was cutting nipple holes in her bras so that she looked pert, but her nipples would show as well.
Okay.
Write to us at expectustotalk@gmail.com if you have any theories on this.
We'd love to hear it.
If you like to cut holes in your bras. Or, gentlemen, in your pants.
Or gentlemen, if you like to cut holes in your bras.
Yeah. Gentlemen, do you have nice norks? Write to us at expectustotalk@gmail.com.
That's a word I've not heard for a long time.
Yeah, he did. It was about 10 seconds ago.
Just now.
Yeah. Terrible memory. I just said it. The thing is, right, she's meant to be this sort of PhD nuclear physicist, and yet he does he explains, not only is he shit casting, but he does actually, the film's almost a bit meta, he explains everything to her there like she's a slow child, and you think, well, actually the actress probably is.
Can you imagine like Bond just dying, being drowned because she like forgets what to do?
Yeah. What did he say? I don't know.
Was it the green button or the red button?
Yeah. But she's all wrong for Bond. She is a beautiful woman at this point of her life. I'm not actually disputing that, but it's almost the wrong type of beauty for a Bond girl.
Mm.
I don't know how to. I don't really know how to explain it because she's not as fake
Bond's
looking
more
as say a
exotic,
Pamela
but more
Anderson.
European. She
Possibly.
isn't like the American go-getter. I mean,
Yeah.
you can
That's
have
not
it,
to
but
say you couldn't. It's not to say you couldn't have an American leading lady, and it isn't because she's got fake tits particularly. I don't quite know what it is. It's almost like too obvious a beauty. I can't really explain it. Sophie Marceau is so much more what you'd go for in looks.
She's like a natural beauty, I guess, compared.
I mean,
contrasted
in look,
to like plastic surgery and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, in look, Leia Seydoux is as well. Leia Seydoux a much more natural beauty.
Mm. Mm. Okay, we'll leave that subject there.
Why? She
Well,
is a
yeah,
beautiful woman,
I
Leia
don't know
Seydoux.
how else to describe it.
Sorry?
Compared to like Pamela Anderson or somebody, for example.
Yeah.
he's
I mean,
Canadian.
I see what you mean.
You would never have cast a Pamela Anderson in a Bond film. Although I wouldn't have put it past Eon in this era. That's the thing, I'm not denying they've done a great job, but when you talk about Barbara and Michael, they were the people who signed off on this shit. They've made errors in judgment themselves.
This still did very well, though, didn't it? I mean, like, was this?
Yeah, this was the highest grossing Bond film at the time. I think unadjusted it was still behind, adjusted it was still behind Goldeneye because it only did about $10 million more than Goldeneye like four years later. But yeah, this fight scene is absolute shit. I think the thinking was that because they were in such a tight environment, it would be like maybe a bit like the
Russian roulette.
elevator fight. Yeah, actually, that's a better example. Bit like that, but it doesn't really work. Keep describing the plot to each other so we're informed.
Sure.
Yeah, shout at him some more. God, he just screams nuclear physicist to me. Nuclear family, brilliant.
And he has to put a thing in the thing.
Welcome to my nuclear family. See, and not only is that a piss poor line like the whole of this era, but
Really bad.
I'm aware there's gallows humour, but he's just lost the love of his life about 10 minutes before. He's in a nice
Yeah, it's
quippy
not
mood now.
Not quite fitting.
Oh, God, his pain. God, this is shit. Look at it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing by blowing everything would be pointless now. He'd just be like, alright, I'm just going to kill you.
Yeah.
What?
I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill her.
Perhaps he should have told her straight away.
Oh no, then he's found. No, now he's found out.
Busted.
Oh, pain face.
Epic pain face.
How did I never notice this when he was Bond? Because it's so fucking obvious. He's a terrible actor when he's in pain. It's all so overdone.
If only I can get a magic button I can push to pop that out.
That made me laugh in Goldeneye, where the ejector seat button's right by his head, just in case you need to headbutt it.
Blowy nose.
That was just on my line, so I was going to edit it out, but never mind. Now you've, now you've commented, that's staying in. That's canon now, Chris.
Since we've also come to flu or horrible cold bug that's been going around.
I've been muting my mic all the way through when I needed to blow my nose, and I couldn't be asked then, but I thought, oh, well, it's just on my line, so I'll be alright. Then Chris called it out, so we're fucked.
That's it, the podcast is just ruined now.
Yeah. Podcast has jumped the shark just at the point the Pierce Brosnan era did.
What if Pierce pressed the wrong button? You know, oh shit, no, it was the middle one, wasn't it? Fuck.
They all got poured a nice hot coffee.
Oh, and also that thing would not embed himself in that. That would down.
Yeah, bounce off him and then he just puts it back in again. Brilliant.
I mean, well, Richie was meant to impale him on those other spikes in the end.
Yeah. Shout some more, Denise. She is working hard. She's thrown herself into this. But she should never have been put in the position. It's a bit like Jake Lloyd, which again tells you what I think of Denise Lewis's, the heptathlete. No, Denise Richards' intellect. That I'm liking her to a 9-year-old boy. But
Denise Lewis is infinitely more intelligent.
There are, I wouldn't say that's true, but anyway, I've made fun of Jake Lloyd in the past, but by and large, when I've talked about him, I haven't blamed him. That if you cast him and he's shit, well, it's your fault. You cast him. And I feel a bit like that about Denise Richards here. She's all wrong for this film, and she's absolutely terrible in it. But she's working hard, and it's not her fault she was cast. Why wouldn't you want to be in a Bond film?
Yeah, especially when you're an actor, it's or actress, rather. It'd be a big boost for your career, wouldn't it? It'd be like, what? Get me in a Bond film?
Yeah. Yeah. Back in the era when the biggest thing to send you out off home happy was a shagging joke. I love the fact that when it finally focuses on them, they're lying pretty immobile until she moves her legs. His sexual technique must just be to lie on top of a woman and then, I don't know, get off again. That's it.
I'm just picturing Pierce Brosnan just lying, just completely on top of the woman, just going, oh!
Yeah, that'll do.
The pay face.
Here we go.
Oh! God.
Here we go.
Oh no, unless it was Roger, it'll be oof!
Oh. For Christmas game, what's it?
There we go. There he is, giving it Riz. And also, he's heating up at a worrying rate. Look, him lying perfectly still, them lying perfectly still is turning them both on so much that they're going deep red.
Ooh.
Oh, he's entered her there, look.
Keeping the British end up, sir.
Keeping the British end up, Americans.
Oh, the Millennium Bug joke.
Yeah, that didn't date at all, did it?
No, it didn't.
Literally 5 weeks after this was released, we hit New Year. The Millennium Bug turned out to be nothing, and that was it.
Yeah, literally.
I remember some early reference to something went wrong somewhere in Italy, but that was it. It was nothing. And companies spent hundreds of millions on it. Now, whether it's the fact they spent all that money that avoided it, I don't know. But the Millennium Bug turned out to be an absolute nothing.
Do you miss the days where it said James Bond will return and actually gave you the title?
Yeah, I'm trying to think when the last time that would have been. Would that have been From A View to a Kill? Would that have been the last one? Or did they tell us The Living Daylights was after A View to a Kill?
I think it was. I think you did say Living Daylights.
Okay, that would have been the last time though, because License to Kill was an original story.
Yeah, I do miss those good old days.
Sort of, but James Bond Will Return is something of its own now anyway. I mean, it's been doing that
it's always
longer,
special.
in fact. It's been doing that at least as long. Not on as many films, obviously, but I'm okay with it. The problem is, knowing the way Eon are at the moment, where
maybe if they're more efficient with writing the script,
Well,
they'll
they
be like,
fit-
know what film they're doing. So they'll be like,
Well, the
oh.
problem is now, they would, if they wanted to do that, if they decided that was something they wanted to do, we know when they finish the films, we're on the next one. That's just the way Eon's been in the last, 10 to 15 years, right? If not longer. So, if they finished it saying Bond will return in and just put a title on, they'd almost have to pull it out of their fucking ass and then retrofit a film to it, and I'd rather they didn't do that. It makes me laugh when you go on forums and people talk about what the next Bond film should be called, and they'll go, it should be called Risico or something. It's like, we don't even know what the fuck. Well, Shatterhand's different, because that's actually not saying you want the film to be called Shatterhand. That's saying where you want the next film to go, and there's literary precedent for it. But, after Skyfall or something, they'd be saying, I want the next one to be called Property of a Lady or something. And I'm like, well, you don't even know what the next film's about. Do you really want to just retrofit a fucking title to something? It's a really odd way of thinking.
I really want the next Bond film for Bond to just go to Bastards Meet or whatever the fuck that Property of a Lady was.
But the point is, name the fucking film based on what the film's about.
Bond in New York. That was the other one.
That's how you ended up with stuff like Die Another Day, just fucking meaningless titles. Because you just had to pick something that sounded vaguely like a Bond film. It's a stupid fucking idea. But yeah, had they had it lined up, or if they decided they were going to do continuation novels, which is a bit dodgy, because basically the plot would be spread faster now. Back in the day, if they said Goldfinger was the next film, all you had to do to not know what was going to happen in the film was not read Goldfinger. But had they not made all the Bond films, right, and they announced at the end of this one, the next one was going to be Goldfinger, the plot would be so dissected on social media, you'd know every beat of the film within hours.
Yeah.
You can't do it anymore. That's why you can't do the continuation novels, as much as we might like the idea of seeing them.
But I guess they can sort of just throw a title out, and people, there'll be speculation about what that might be about. There'd be no literary source to go to.
Yeah, but that would be fine if they knew themselves.
I know.
The problem is, if they say the next film's going to be called The Property of a Lady, you've then got to write a film around a title, which is really fucking stupid.
Like Quantum of Solace.
Yeah. Which you can strain to make work, kind of. But anyway, that's episode 96 done. I can't wait to see what we'll record next.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a quick job on recording it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
we should go back to the future. We'll go back to yesterday and record it.
Yeah, literally.
Right. So to recap, that was going to be put out. This is going to be put out in place of The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back will now be paired with The Last Jedi whenever we do that. I
like the idea of just doing the commentary and then talk about Last Jedi over it.
Yeah. By the way, what did you think of The Last Jedi? Good. Brilliant. That's our review. So we go on to Back to the Future next. We then go on to a mystery 100th episode commentary, but as we've given away, we've already recorded it. Then, all things being equal, we would go on to Reservoir Dogs. But if you look at the schedule, it does depend very much on when we decide to do The Last Jedi.
And also we've got Love Actually commentary for Christmas.
And we've got our Christmas commentary, although that's outside the numbering convention anyway. So that'll just get thrown out whenever. In fact, that'll come out on the morning of Christmas Eve, because that's what we did last year.
Yeah.
Or Christmas Eve during the day. So if you did want to watch, not that any of you will, but if you did want to watch a film with our commentary on Christmas Eve, it's available. We did that last year. So we'll record it and put it out on Christmas Eve, but that has no relation to putting anything else out. If we were due to put a podcast out the same day, we still would.
It's like a little bonus.
Okay, so social media, folks.
You can find me at Cinematronics. You can find this podcast at cinematronics.co.uk. Look out for other podcasts featuring Dave on there, because that's all I seem to do.
Yeah.
Who knows? Might get around to doing a Justice League review. But
I think we're eyeing doing one of those. As long as it doesn't interrupt our schedule. Yeah, you can find me at the Pasty Kid 1976 on Twitter. And talking of other podcasts, we have all just recorded a smorgasbord. So look up smorgasbord, but the board bit of the word is spelled B-O-R-E.
well, yeah, poor Pete. We just basically.
Well, he invited us on. It's not like we fucking just hijacked
It's basically
the
a
call.
Do You Expect to Talk takeover.
Yeah, we recorded one of those recently. We all appear on that periodically. So yeah, that's me, Becca.
You can follow us on Expected to Talk at Twitter. On Twitter at Expected to Talk. Facebook.com/Do You Expect to Talk. Same goes for YouTube and also iTunes. And you can also drop us an email at expectedtotalk@gmail.com.
Okay. Well,
So what are we doing next?
I've got to work out my tenses here now because it's all got confused. So, Becca, let us know what we're recorded next.
That's right. Do You Expect to Talk will return with our Back to the Future review series.